Hey, my name is Zach, and this is my new song called Too Far Gone. Here we go. Something kinda smooth, just what I wanna do, it's true. I got the minor groove, and I'ma keep it going till I lose my place. But I don't need to sell my soul for visions of fool's gold and tells I lost hope. Hidden underneath my bones is that solid truth you've been searching for. Now I don't make the rules, I just feel the groove. Do what I got to do, and time moves slow, but I don't even care. And I don't have the words to release this curse on me, and it seems that I'm too far gone. Take my time, no sense in rushing cause the truth keeps lying. I'm praying, can we please rewrite? But the past is the past and there's no denying. I'm slipping in a comatose, hoping I don't overdose, trying to keep it on the low. Don't know what I'm waiting for, I got the chance to be free, so I'ma come alive and do me. I don't make the rules, I just feel the groove. Do what I got to do, yeah. And time moves slow, but I don't even care. And I don't have the words to release this curse on me, and it seems that I'm too far gone. I don't make the rules, I just feel the groove. Do what I got to do, yeah. And time moves slow, but I don't even care. And I don't have the words to release this curse on me, and it seems that I'm too far gone. And 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to another edition of A Humanistic Perspective. As always, I am your host, Chad Castilla, and today I have another amazing episode for you. I'm joined all the way from San Diego, Zach Brosi. Zach, thank you for joining me. He is a musician, he is a creative, he is just an all-around inspiring, totally vibes out guy, and I love and cannot wait to share this episode with you. Zach, thank you for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for that great introduction. I appreciate it. It's great to have you on the show.
Hell yeah. So I want to, for the audience, open up. Let's go back to your childhood, maybe share a little bit about your upbringing, maybe share, some highlight moments, some adversity moments, some moments where you were like, yo, what do I want to do music? Where am I going with life? And let's go back there and see where that leads us.
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, if you're in the show, I actually grew up in a similar, or not the same, actually, hometown to this man here. It's Chad.
Mm-hmm.
We both grew up in Yorkville, Illinois. So that's where I got my roots, back in small town Illinois. I don't know if he's talked about it much on the show, but like I mean, it's a small suburb kind of outside of Chicago, so we don't have a whole lot going on, but it's growing. You know, like our high school was next to like a stable with horses and cows, and like it's very agricultural out there. So, but that's kind of my roots. So I the Midwestern roots, and yeah, I mean, I went to pretty normal upbringing, nothing too crazy, was nothing too stellar from the beginning or anything like that. But growing up, I was mainly into sports. I did that for a while.
Did you have siblings?
I did. I have an older sibling. Yeah, she's 6 years older than me, my sister.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, so she was cool. I was just kind of a different, more of an age gap than, like, you know, like not like you grew up with your like close sibling and everything. She was kind of more like a mom.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic.
She kept me accountable and all that. So, but so yeah, that was great. My parents are great. My mom was a teacher. My dad's he's retired now, but he was a police officer for a while.
Wow, that's awesome.
Kind of my background. So it was kind of strict for a little while growing up, right? Like my parents too crazy, but I mean, they had high expectations. I mean, as they should. But so that was kind of it for me. And so the music honestly didn't really begin until, I mean, I got my first guitar maybe when I was 9 or 10.
Okay,
and
right on.
I remember I went over to a friend's house, and like he had an electric guitar in the corner, and I was like, that's so cool. Like I need one of those. So like the next Christmas, I'm like, I need an electric guitar. And like, sure enough, parents got me one, or Santa got me one. Yep. Like sat in the corner of my room for a while, like picked it up. I did lessons for maybe 3 months, but I'm like, this isn't for me. I'm like, this is not fun. Like I was like just so frustrated all the time. Like I feel like as the story goes with lessons and all that. So
100%.
I didn't like it. So I actually stopped like at like 10 or 11. I was like, no, not for me. Like I was like, not going to play guitar anymore. And it sat in the corner for another like 2 years or so. And then it wasn't until like 13 when I like was staring at the guitar one day, and I think it was like a winter break or something in school. And I was like so bored. Yeah. I was like, I need to just pick this. Like I just picked it up and like learned. That's when I realized like, oh, YouTube could be teaching me, or like I could learn some stuff online. So that's when I started like actually playing. That's when I kind of classifies that. So I think I've been playing for like 10 years now, because I'm 23 today.
Wow.
So
wait, is it your birthday today?
No. Well, in this present moment. It was a few weeks ago though. August 5th.
Okay, sure. Damn, happy birthday, bro.
Thank you. So same month, so close enough. So yeah, like that's when it all began. And then I think interesting enough for me, what really led me to the music is because, like I said, I was like an athlete. Like I was all about that. I was like all about sports. Like that's what I knew, right?
Yeah. What was your go-to? What was your like favorite sport that you were playing? I'm sure you were playing a lot of them though.
Football was my like bread and butter. Like I loved that, which ended up being like my, it was like a double-edged sword, right? Because I loved the sport, but I kept hurting myself in that sport, specifically my brain.
No, do you have CT?
Yes, I do. So for a while, so I got like my first bad concussion, like middle school, right? And like that's when I started missing like a few weeks of school. And the problem is that they're cumulative, right? So like my first one I had, I like, didn't think much of it. I'm like missed a few days of school, had a bad headache, but kept playing football. And then for like 3 or 4 years in a row, I kept getting a concussion, right? So it was like, just like, again, like I'd start the season and then like would hit my head bad again. And then I'd be out of school for a little while. And then I just kept getting worse and worse. And it wasn't until like my sophomore year of high school when I had like my worst one, where I missed like maybe a month and a half of high school. And then that's when it was just slowly dawning on me, like even my parents and the doctors, like, if you get one more, like you should really consider not playing sports anymore. They're like, it's kind of getting serious. Like, your brain is an important component of your body, and like, so that kind of led me to a difficult crossroads at a young age. Cause I was like 15, 16 then. And, I was hitting my head and like, so already dealing with like the physical pain of a concussion, which I didn't know much about. And I healed, after that month and a half, but I had a lot of lingering symptoms from that, where I was
I'm sure that didn't help with like mood balancing stuff, or like trying to sit down and like read books and shit. Like I can't even imagine, dude. I had no idea you were going through that.
Yeah. So that was a really big, I missed about a month and a half or so of school. And then even when I was back, I was only doing half days for a while because I couldn't. And like, I would leave school every day just. I know I was seeing some videos of people's like posting videos of the storm. I miss that so much from back home. Like Southern California it hardly rains enough, let alone thunderstorm.
Really? Yes. Yeah, I bet. Can you see the wildfires from where you are, from Oregon, like coming down, smoke?
You can see the smoke, absolutely. It doesn't burn quite as bad down here. Like we'll get fires, but usually they're controlled within like a day because it's so dry out here. There's not a lot of like green and forestry out here for it to burn so much. But
Makes
but
sense.
I was out in Colorado like 2 weeks ago, and it was the worst out there because all of it usually blows a little east, like right in line from like Northern California,
Mm-hmm.
also from like Oregon and Washington, and it was bad out there. Like you couldn't see anything.
Down. That sucks.
And yeah.
So where did we leave off? Sorry, the power went out, so we got cut off there. Luckily, none of the footage was corrupted, so we're good.
Cool. Okay, that's totally fine. Yeah, I'm done to just pick off where we're talking about. Basically, just the rambly point I was making is just like so. I was dealing with the concussions, right? It was a lot to do at a young age because I was dealing with physical pain and like lingering pain. Because usually, like you sprain an ankle or break your leg and it's healed, right? But
Right.
I was dealing with something that like has now become like a disability in my life, like where I still feel symptoms today. Like today, I still get chronic headaches and like I have, weird moodiness and like I get like my vision's a little messed up too, where I see a lot of floaters and I have struggle with like loud noises and lights and everything. So like it was like a journey that I started like 15, 16 that I had no idea was going to like continue to affect me for so long.
Right.
So like that was tough, to deal with healing. But then it was right then though, like a very pivotal moment in my life because like I said, sports was always the thing for me. Right. But then I remember music was something I was doing. I enjoyed playing the guitar. At that point I had written a few songs. I'm like, that's fun. But then I just realized like I'm like, okay, I want to move my energy or like rather focus my energy on something more like that gave me as much fulfillment as sports. And I just completely just dove into the music thing. I was like, okay, if I'm not going to be an athlete, because at that point I had like dreams of maybe playing sports in college or something. And I was like, okay, that's not a possibility anymore. But I was like, okay, this music thing actually makes me feel fulfilled in like a similar but very different way than sports, and I'm like, I really do this. I'm like, I'm going to jump into that and just kind of see where this goes. So I think it was right around then where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do this musician thing. And it just felt good. I just started writing more songs at that point. I was working with Treehouse Studios back in Yorkville.
Shout out to Treehouse.
Yeah, which you guys know about. For viewers that don't know, that was like a collective we started back in high school. We built a studio in our homie Zach Brosi and up in his attic, like built up the walls and started a studio. It started off as just having all our friends coming and hanging out and recording music. And at this point, like it's been growing a lot more because he moved out to Phoenix and he kept going down there. Out here in San Diego, I have a few different artists that we record for Treehouse, and we have like Nathan Nazanga out in Seattle. He's doing big things, and he reps Treehouse too. So it's really cool. So that was just
That's awesome, man.
It was great. So, I just stumbled like from all the pain and whatever and just dealing at that at a young age, but I did stumble onto like a great group. And honestly, I had way more time to make those connections because I was so used to like practice after school, sports. But at that point I was free, right? So I was having more time to actually spend the time with the people around us, and I always say it because I meet people now older and they're like, I don't even talk to my high school friends. I don't even talk to my elementary school friends, but like the people that I met out there are like, they're like some of my homies, you know what I mean? Like they are lifelong.
100%.
And I just feel like for the small town that both of you and I did grow up in, there was a really just great amount of culture and good people, that's kind of surprising.
It really was actually.
Yeah. So like, it's people like you that are doing big things here with the podcast and everything else that you
appreciate it.
Into, so it's just very cool. And I think that's something that I take away from my whole life anyways. Like the people you meet is just so important, man. Like you can't take wealth or earnings or like accomplishments with you, but these people and relationships that will remember you when you croak or, at least have a funny story to tell. Like that's it right there, man. Like it's just truly like, that is my favorite thing, just to have these connections and maintain them. Cause it's not hard, like even being across the country now, I can just shoot a text to like catch up with you every once in a while or like, some of my good homies from high school too, and just be like, how you doing? Or just call. And like, it's just great. It's just really cool just to keep those. Like, I'm just not a believer in, they're not in my life anymore, so I'm not going to talk to them.
100%. Yeah, I agree. And the thing for me too, is like, I've been really recently trying to figure out like as I'm 22, I'm like reflecting on what do I want to be the values I live my life by. And one of them that was so important to me was like, surround yourself with people you care about, surround yourself with people that make you happy as well. And so like, as I focus in more and more on that same realization of like the people who I started with, the people that like we founded with here, built such lasting bonds and such great relationships. And like, there is nothing more important than that. And even too, like you're acknowledging with that idea, like we don't talk all the time, but the fact that we take the time to even acknowledge and reflect that the existence of the other person is still there, does show a level of care, and I do appreciate that too. Yeah, like it's so rare to meet and interact, and like that is the one thing that will never happen again in this space and moment in time, is like our souls getting to interact and have this experience, right? Because there will be a point in time where we die and none of us, we're in existence, our whole being is not really important. But the fact that we get to have these moments, and the fact that we have uninterrupted time to just talk and experience and express each other's life, it's something you can't beat any day of the week.
Absolutely, man. I totally 100% agree with that. And just raw emotion like that, and just like good things is like something that I try to translate into like being like a creative. Because like really, to me, I can tell like you think in a creative way. It's just like being able to like acknowledge those things and just realizing that like, right, because your existence is way more than what you accomplish or like who you are, but like just these people around you and these moments that you're spending. So, and I think I can relate that to like a song, right? Because it's it's just so vast and interesting. And similarly, you're capturing these moments in like 2 to 3, 4 minute tracks, of just like moments that are like capturing emotion, or like maybe you're trying to send a message in your song, or you're trying to do like anything. It's just like so endless. Like, I mean, all of art is truly, but like music, especially for me, at least, is just so crazy in that element. So that's super cool.
That's very beautiful. Like, how do you think you've seen your creative process evolve, like from your 2017 project and from your first picking up the instrument again till now? How do you think as a creative you have like evolved? Because I know your mentality as a human being has evolved. So I'm sure your ability and also mentality on your art form has also evolved. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think it started because, like I said, at first I was picking up the guitar and like, let's just make noise with it. Because I never learned in a conventional way, right? I just tossed lessons aside from the start. And I was like, let's just make some noise. That's what's feel good. That's what I tell anybody who starts to play an instrument. I'm like, if you want to pick up an instrument, like you can look up all this stuff, you can get theory, which is helpful. But like the root of why you're playing an instrument is just to make noise, right? And express yourself. So I think from the very start, that's how it began. Like I started writing songs and I was making noise, and I was really excited about that, right? Because I was like, I loved music growing up, as most people do, love listening to it. And I was like creating something for my own brain that was like coming out into like something I could formulate and like some raw emotions and anything, and just playing sound. So I think from the very start, like when I did release that first project, I was just so excited to get something out there, right? Like we had this studio that we had built, Treehouse Studios. I was like, I want to get in there and like, let's make something, and like, let's just record something. And I think that was just so fulfilling for me to have like, to see your name on like Spotify, or like in a very self-serving way, like, you're like, this is cool. Like
100%.
I'm here, like I'm in my own library next to like my favorite artists and all this. And like very, very exciting. And I think taking that from now, like, so I grew up and I released that first project like pretty close before I was leaving for college. I wrote the song starting from 16 to 18, finally had them recorded around 18. And then I left for San Diego to college. Right. And at that point, a lot more was going on in my life than just the music. I kind of relaxed on it for like a year because I was kind of soaking up freshman year. And then it wasn't until sophomore year back here at college that I started picking up the music again, where I started doing a lot more shows around town, and I was doing them around campus. And I started writing a lot more. And then, but like, so then I released another project. It was my sophomore year of college, like right when I was saying, like, I was feeling a lot more inspired. Like, again, like it was like, had these experiences from moving across the country.
And that was Grounded, correct?
Yeah, that was the second one. So
dude, I really like that project. Hold on. I'm going to shout out for people. If you want to listen to that project, check out Missed Calls. I really like that song. Mother Earth and 645. Those are really good.
Cool. Yeah. Hell yeah. Thanks so much, man. So those, I think those songs like definitely came from just like that cliche dream of like, let's move across the country to California. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of where that came. And I was just surrounded by such new culture and such new people, and like just being able to pick up the guitar again and write. Like I remember like having classes, but I would always write a song like 5 or 10 minutes before I would have to go to class, because it was like I just didn't want to go. I was just dreading it. And then I would have an idea in my head, and like I knew I had to leave, but like my brain, probably the part of me that wanted to procrastinate, like started coming up with really good lyrics. And like
that's exactly it.
So I just remember just like scribbling away as fast as I could, because I'm like, oh, I'm late for my lecture, but like this is such a good idea. Like I need to like, and then I remember the whole lecture still thinking about it, like in the back, still like writing out some lyrics and stuff, and then getting home and finally like putting down a demo of the song or something. So like that was excited. And I think in that mindset, I was still on this wave of like, I want to do a project, right? Because growing up, I was always so inspired by artists that had like these bigger projects and had like songs that like kind of met with each other and everything. And like, I think with that, I mean, it's not even that I bit off more than I could chew. But like, I was just on this like such a bigger picture of how I wanted my music to be. And I realized that like, because now like I've released this new song this past month this is the latest
Too
release.
Far Gone.
Too Far Gone, since 2 years ago. And during those 2 years, because I kind of really like my music just really changed, right? Like the music
Yeah, your soundscape has evolved so much.
it's been all over the place. And I think because the past 2 years from releasing, I spent a lot of time playing with bands. Like I played with Swamp Donkey out in Illinois.
Yep.
I played with a band out here called Sunspoken for a few months out in San Diego. And I played with like just a few others, like just jamming and just playing on the beach and like collaborating with other people. And I was more focused on like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is before I was so focused on like my own sound and like capturing it. But then I was just focused on, okay, let's let myself feel this other influences of all the music around me. And like, let's create and like be with other people making music. And like, let's see where that is.
You almost in a sense wanted to become a chameleon of the influence of the style and genre of whatever other musicians were in that room at that moment in time.
Yeah.
I can hear that too in this project too, because it's specifically like the way you layer the vocals, but also include like Hendricks-esque guitar moments. But then there's also like, did you use any electronic drums in there too? I felt like, yeah, like at the beginning with that too. And then you also bring in though, like the tambourine and the live percussion. And it was really like an amalgamation of all of the chapters of your old music, but I could also see this culturing of artistship from around you highlighting in this track. But it is distinctly you. This is the first track that I feel like I don't think you're trying to be anyone else. You're really distinctly you. And I want to go in depth into this track, but like if you want to continue on the thought you're on, go ahead.
Totally. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I entirely agree. That's totally the point that I was trying to make. Cause it's like, I think I had not even an issue, but starting making music so soon and recording around like 16, you know, like at that frame, I was like, let's just get some music, pump it out there, you know? And I was just so much on that wave. Even when I released Grounded, I was like, let's just get some more music, you know, because this is what I do now. And it wasn't until I started, I think, maturing more musically. And like you said, being chameleon and soaking up the jam sessions I was doing and the different stuff. And like, because I realized I'm like, I don't need to rush this thing, right? I want to, and I told myself, I was like, because I had ideas, right? But I don't want to release another song until I'm really, really happy with it. And that took a while. It took 2 years, you know, like, and there was like frustration, you know, writing, I'm like, that ain't it. But I was just patient and I kept working at it. And finally, like, I had a song that like, I really happy by the way you explained it, like totally what I was going for as far as like, because I've had so many different influences. I like to mesh a lot of different styles and genres. And like, I was like, this is like the one, this is something I'm happy for that I can push out. And like, I was like, I'm tired of this fast pace. I actually took the time to promote this track, you know, like made some stuff about it, like pushed it around to some playlists and all that. Like I did the whole other half of it than just, okay, making music. So
right.
Very, very exciting. It just feels good to have something out there that I'm just truly happy with. And like, that's not even knocking on the old stuff. It's just different, you know? And I think it's cool for the people that knew me then and have listened to my music to be like, wow, like you said, like it's changed, you know, because it has, because it's not just me, 16-year-old me, like with an acoustic guitar in my hand, you know, at this point I've learned a lot more musically and also in my life. So,
well, I wanted to go there next too with this specific track is the lyrical content comparative to like Grounded per se. It's way much, I felt like with Grounded, you were longing to become like a philosopher in a sense. You were longing to have these profound experiences and to be able to propagate that through your art form. But with this latest track, the way that you lyricize and the way that you put your writing together, I felt it was almost extremely more profound and yet much wiser than how you used to before. And it was just not dogging on the old version, just it's so new and it's so interesting. What was the inspiration or the impetus to sort of bring out these lyrics and why the lyrics you chose for the song?
Totally. Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think before I was like, I want to get deep. I want to have these thought-provoking more songs and stuff. And I think it's really easy to try too hard, right? Like it's just anything you do, it's so easy to try too hard. And like, So I think for this case, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like all those lyrics had meaning, because like I am not one that writes based on like, oh, I'm going to send a message. Like, as much as I do, like when I am writing on a spin, I'm like, okay, let's kind of make this deeper. But at least in this one, like these ones just kind of came to me, right? Like I remember I made the beat. My laptop was broken at the time actually, and the way that I usually make music, I couldn't. So I had this like old looper pedal. And I was just like frustrated one day. I'm like, let's just like, because I was like, I haven't been making music. I'm like, I have no way to do it how I usually do. I'm like, let's just plug in all my instruments to this little looper. And like, I was like, holy shit, like this started to sound good. And like, it just really started to sing itself to me. Like that's that main melody where it was like, I don't make the rules, you know, like I and all that, like just kind of came to me right away. I'm like, well, these could be cheesy and all, but like, that's okay. Cause I realized I'm like, in the past, I've definitely tried too hard with the lyricism. I'm like, I just need it to just kind of flow out, and those ones just came like right, like those. I feel like those are the best songs that I write, that I don't have to think about the hook 4 or 5 times. It's just like the first thing that really does come to my brain. Yep. So, but at least though, how I open up the song, like I sing those little like "Give It Back to Me's." That one I feel like came to me first too, because like I was finally feeling in a space where I'm like, I hadn't written a solo song in a while. I was really focusing on the band I was in at the time. And I was like, yeah, give it back to me. I'm like, this is the energy that I need. I'm like, this is how I feel when I'm ready to threaten. Like, so I think that one had the most intention out of the whole song. But, you know, I can't sit here and lie and be like, all of those lyrics have great meaning. But just more so that like, they were authentic though to what I was feeling in that moment. And they just came to me from the music. Like I've heard the most successful songwriters say that the songs write themselves, right? Because it's good music instrumentation at first, and it just comes to them through a melody or whatever it is. And like from there, if you can follow that and match it good with some vocals and all that, then it should all tie together.
I totally agree. And I see that too, like in the artistry of like Bob Dylan, for example, because he's so old now. Like it's for an artist, making a song is making a public and completely intimate diary entry of your life. And it's really it's an amalgamation of who you are in that moment, in that piece of time. And then how, as an audience member, can you interact and interplay with that and have that experience affect the one that you live? And I think so much of that is definitely showing through this song. And I can't wait to see the trajectory moving forward. What was the meaning of Too Far Gone? Why that for the title?
It was kind of the hook. It was kind of the hook at the time. And I think, I don't know, it's kind of hard. I think it can mean a lot of different things. Like it can mean like, at least I think in my own idea, I was like, just like too far gone in the sense of just like, not like maybe over, like I'm a big overthinker in my life in general, you know, and just like, I can always say that like, I can be like too far gone or too far into something. And I think for me, it was more that, and almost my way of combating that and like releasing something that I was happy about, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like
totally
not going off the cliff, you know, but also going off the cliff in a sense like this is something awesome, you know. And that's why like I chose the animation of like the car driving off the cliff, and like that's how I had the album artwork too, of just like someone falling off the cliff, and not even in such a negative way, you know, not like that it's gonna have negative implications or anything like that, but just like just falling and just into something else, you know. So that's what I just was really the most excited for about the release, and like to have something new, you know.
How do you feel? I want to talk about, because I've heard a lot vocally changing in the character in which you sing with, and also I feel like you're starting to use a lot more of your diaphragmatic breathing, and you're supporting your sound a lot more. Do you feel like you're coming more into your voice? Like I definitely felt like your voice on this track felt much more mature. It's the same Zach. It's just as a Zach that is understanding his instrument in a new way.
So, totally, absolutely, man. That's how I'm feeling a little bit better about the voice, because I was always a guitar player, right? I was never so much of a singer. I'd always say like I really enjoy singing. I enjoy writing lyrics, but I'm not like your belter or like hitting crazy rolls. Like my voice can't do that, and that's okay, right? I accept that. Because I think for me, I'm just trying to focus more on my strong suits. Like I think I'm good at writing catchier hooks and good melodies. And I really like to fuse different styles. Like I really like to put in like rappier flows and kind of have emphasis on certain syllables and all that, and then mix that with a little bit of singing. You know, I think that's kind of more what I'm going for. That's always kind of what I had been going for, but this song more had that. Like the second verse was like more of a rappier kind of part, you know, and then mixing that in with the melodic hook. So I think that's moving forward is kind of more what I want to channel, because my favorite stuff that I've made has been more rappier. And some of the stuff that I don't have released, like with that band I was working on, like I was doing some really rappier stuff with that, like some early, like if you're a fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like I love Anthony Kiedis, he's the lead singer there. And he did, like, if you listen to some of the early Chili Pepper stuff, like he like sounds like a hip hop rapper, like some of the stuff he says, but like he'll just say just the weirdest shit that'll make you go like, what did he just say? And, like I had a line in one of the songs with the band that's it's like, I'm getting freaky in a funky rug, I'm pulling undercover with a dirty glove. Just stuff like that. Just like letting your mind, like where I almost feel like schizophrenic sometimes, and
Yeah.
but it's cool. Like I like that, where it's like words can be so meaningful, but also meaningless at the same time. And I think to have that combination in a song is very, very cool.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it's almost like I connect it for me to understanding like vocal scat and jazz. It's like the freedom and just like the release of not necessarily making sure that everything is perfectly lined up intimately, and just allowing the sporadic moment to happen actually creates the beauty itself. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, right. And it's cool. I really like the mesh of genres. Like I love when you can mix like rap into like folk, or like something that you just wouldn't expect. You're like, wait, like this song specifically, the guy I was producing with, his name's Thomas. He's really great.
Cool.
I met him out here in San Diego, and he put like an 808 in the song, which is like more of a hip hop based instrument. And 100%. I like never saw a track of mine having that, but like it fits so well with the style. And working with him now, we're going for more like meshing hip hop more into the stuff, because we're like, we liked how that is like, and similar to the synthetic drums, that he was using in there with just like the hi-hats noises and stuff that you would hear like in a hip hop song. And I think just combining that with the instrumentation allows me to combine that too with my voice, having the different styles of both singing and rapping and flowing or whatever it might be.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about that production aspect. So are you producing and composing all the tracks yourself? Are you working with someone? Are you having someone master you? Where are you at with that right now?
So I've done a lot. So that's another journey I've been on too. Like I used to make it over at Treehouse Studios with Mr. Cole Ryan. And he was like just my bread and butter producer. Like loved working with that guy. And like since then, I had a hard time finding someone that I really enjoyed working with again. Like someone who kind of understood my background and where I was going for. And it wasn't until I met Thomas, who I just mentioned, that I met him like sophomore year in college. We were just jamming together, and he got into production. Like I didn't see him for like 2 years, and then he hit me. I think I saw him randomly at a party or something, and he's like, hey, I have all this recording equipment. Like, let's just come over. Let's just work on something. And working with him was just so seamless. Like, it felt like how I was working with Cole, back when I was like 16 in Treehouse Studios. And like, he just really understood my style. Like, he was doing things that I would ask him to do anyway. And lately, we've been forming a really good relationship of working together that I've enjoyed so much. Like, so basically, the song process for me starts. I write the song with my guitar. I write all the lyrics. I have that ready, and then I'll come to him with it. And like, I'll play it for him, have the idea, and he'll kind of get some ideas going. And then we kind of work like co-producing it together.
Cool.
So he'll pick, he's really good at making digital drums, and production is something I'm getting better at myself, that I've kind of picked up like maybe a year and a half ago. So he'll kind of pick out like some good, other like synths and drums and stuff, and kind of throw it in there, and together we'll kind of go through and be like, okay, I like that. Sounds good. And that's what's great too, is because he's getting better at the mixing and mastering side as well. Like actually he's really good at it too. So to the point where we can produce a song together, and he can also do the mixing and mastering. So it all stays in the same house, which I really enjoy. Not getting tossed around to 3 different people who might not understand where I'm coming from, because we can sit there together, and like he can kind of tweak everything that I want. And he's super patient with me, because I can just get like, I just get so excited sometimes. And I always tell him like, hey, don't let me boss you around. He's like, no, like this is what we do. Like, like I'm here for you, which like, he's just really awesome, just selfless kind of engineer that way. So
that's really smart. You need someone like that. Like every famous artist, every major artist, like even Justin Bieber in that, like they have their team that when they're in their room, when they're in their element, they can just make them flourish even more.
Yeah, and that's what's great too, because like he's just, I always thought like I just like end of the session, I always give him like a fist bump or something. I'm like, thank you for making another song come to life, because like for me, sometimes the songs can start off as such a vast idea in my brain, and then it's not until going over to his place and putting something down and like hearing it on the speaker, I'm like, okay, this is actually coming to life now. Like it was just a super really cool feeling in itself too, and that's just so interesting. Kind of what you said before. It's like it can be a very what's the word? Not revealing, but just intimate part of you to reveal, you know, when you
Yeah,
are,
like a diary entry.
yeah, exactly. That's how you word it, you know, and like, so music can just be so personal in that sense. So it is just very cool. And especially when you get another person's hands and brain on it, you know, when you are co-producing with someone, because it's like, okay, my thoughts are entering his brain. He's going to translate that onto the computer, and that's going to turn into some type of audio, you know, which is just so cool. Really, really cool. I like collaborating is something that I like really enjoy. Like all the time, I'm like, hey, you need a guitar on a song, or like, let's work on a song together. Like,
I wanted to go into that in between, bro. That thing bops. That thing hits.
yes,
It's
sir.
very Tom Misch and Yusuf Days-esque.
Oh, cool. I appreciate that. That's totally kind of the realm I've been in lately, for sure. That's with my boy Cole Ryan, who I mentioned, CPR. Check him out on Spotify. He's been really on the lo-fi game lately, and like, because like he comes from a really organic background like me. Like, grew up with the, you know, just like his dad played guitar and like was always around instruments, and like really just dove into it. And we started off, like, he started off as just a studio engineer, right? Just tracking instruments. And it wasn't until I think 2-3 years ago too, where he was like, I'm going to start making beats and do that. And he picked up guitar, I think less than 2 years ago now. And like, so the first half of guitar on that track is all him. And he's only been playing for like, I don't even think, not even 2 years. Like, he's just been around for so long. And like,
hold on, give me 1 second. I have to open the garage door.
Oh,
sorry.
no, do your thing. You're fine. You're fine. Give me 1 second.
Sorry, my girlfriend just got here.
Oh, you're fine. No worries at all.
No, you're good. Let's keep going. Keep going. I can cut that. I'll edit that.
Oh, no worries at all. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Cole had the similar organic background, and he's been diving really into like being an artist for himself lately with the lo-fi beats. Like, has the CPR like alias kind of, and has been producing. And he's got, you should definitely check out his stuff. He's got some really good lo-fi beats that are great to like chill to, study to. Like, the lo-fi is just such a big wave lately, especially. But funny enough, we haven't really collaborated since he's been doing that lately. And like, that track was so fun too, because I moved out of my place at the end of July, and he hit me up the last week I was there, and he sent me this beat, and he's like, I feel like we could do something together. And I'm like, look, I have 80 million other things going on this week, but like, let's make this happen. And we did. Like, we made that track within a week, and he was up in Oregon at the time. I was down here in San Diego, just sending files back and forth. And like, we had a track we were happy with, and we're like, hell yeah, like this, like, let's do it. Like, let's drop it. And so like, that's really exciting for the future. Me and him are definitely going to be working on some more stuff. We're thinking of starting a collaboration, a solo kind of project ourselves under a different artist name called the Chefs Collective.
Ooh, kind of that's a fat name. I like that.
Yeah. So we're thinking of just combining more of like kind of what you're saying about Tom Misch guitar, and also because in my personal opinion, I think the next wave of music right now is going to be more organic instruments mixed with like dancey beats, right? I think that is the next wave, because like you see all these people at like raves and stuff.
Yeah.
Love it, right? They love the beats they can move their bodies to, but also people love instruments. Like, they love when someone comes out and they can watch you playing. So like, if you look like artists like Hippie Sabotage or like 2 Feet, kind of combine like organic instruments. So that's what I'm hoping to do with him. I think we're gonna do big things there. We're gonna wear like chef's hats and chef coats and throughout like our doors to the audience, like tiny pepperonis or something like that. So that's kind of the vision I have with him moving forward, and also making music under CPR and myself too. And like, to go on even more of a tangent, that's kind of where I see my music lately too. Like I said, I took those 2 years before releasing a solo to really just like diversify myself, and lately I've really realized a presence in. Like, it doesn't need to just be Zach Brosi. It can be like these 8 other bands that I can be with like simultaneously. Like, I am always down to work with anyone and everyone, like, because it's like, why not make you grow and like make. Can you hear me as well? Oh fuck,
I can hear.
I'm gonna try moving up a little bit.
Hey, there you are.
Better. It's a little higher ground over here.
No, you're good. Cool. But I completely agree. I heard it and then it cut out. But collaboration is one of the most like important things, I feel like, for an artist, because it's like the collaboration allows you to explore the emotional landscape that builds inside of yourself. And in different ways, it's like going to a therapist, right? A therapist sometimes can make you reflect in a way that you've never thought before. Expressing with another artist can do that exact same thing.
Totally. Yeah. And that's just how I feel. It's like, just why limit yourself? And like, I just want to like just challenge myself and working with these other people. I think one of my favorite things to do is I do a lot out here in San Diego. I'll play on the beach.
Cool.
Just like set up all my stuff and put a poster out and like just play. And I've met so many people that way. And especially other musicians where like someone will come to me and be like, hey, like I play, like, would you ever want to jam? And I'm like, yes, like come over. And like every time that happens within the same week that I meet them, they're over jamming. Like,
Wow.
whether it's just something simple, like just playing. And I don't even care. Like if you can, like whatever skill level you're at, like just come over, like be around the music, like let's talk music, let's do something. And like it's just like I've just created this community for myself of just really great people and musicians around here. That's just been great. Like it's just like constant. It's like, however, like I want to have a jam session tonight. Either have everyone over or like, okay, I'm feeling this style, so like let's invite them over. Like let's go over here. And like it's just so cool that way. And it's moving more towards like making, like creating songs with other people too. Like I've formed a few different groups while I've been out here and just collaborating with other solo artists and whatnot, and just dabbling everywhere. I think that's just like the way to do it, like truly. So
I wanted to ask and get into too. You're a yoga fiend. When did you start that? How did you get into that? And when did you get so advanced at it?
that was something that came around the concussions as well, actually, funnily enough, because I was really into exercise from the sports and all that, but I couldn't do, when I was concussed, I couldn't do the same like exercises that I was doing, and like that was another big frustration for me, because I wasn't getting any like energy out through activity. I wasn't doing any I was a little into lifting weights. I was never that crazy into it, but like just doing like a lot of like running and stuff like that was so high impact, and I couldn't lift anything because it was too much pressure on my brain and all that. So someone was suggested, actually, Coach Chapman back at Yorkville High School recommended. He was like, have you ever thought about yoga? He's like, there's ways you can still work out and not so much be so strenuous. And like I was seeing a chiropractor at the same time who was like also like hyping it up. I'm like, you know what, let's just try it. Like before I had this vision of yoga as like, oh, you're not getting any exercise doing that or anything like that. It's not anything. And like, I started doing it and like, I was like, oh my, like, this is so nice. Like I at the point I couldn't do that much still, but it was like a way for me to move in my own way without like, I wouldn't hurt myself at the end. And like, that's when I think I really started to discover a whole different side of myself too, of just like, of everything that yoga brings, from peacefulness to like, to moving, to stillness, to all of it. And like, I started to really just incorporate that into my life, like to the point where like now when I wake up, like if I don't have anything going on in the morning, like I do it right away. Like I have to, like I just have to just start off my body that way, like stretch it out. And it really got me into meditation as well. Like I met one of my best friends now here in San Diego. I met a little over 2 years ago. His name's Amaris, and he is like really, really into meditation. Like I met him and like one of the first moments I had with him, like he was just in the backyard, like staring at a wall. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm meditating. He's like, I do this all the time. And like before then, I'd only ever meditated in yoga, right? Like in Savasana, just taking a few moments to just lay there and just like meditating in stillness after activity. But this man like incorporates meditation into like his daily life all the time. Like right when he wakes up, does an hour, like in midday, like evening. And I was like,
wow.
A very formal meditation, right? Not so much, oh, I'm going to exercise and then meditate. Like he will just take the time.
Is he like a Buddhist or a Hindu or?
No, he's just a cool dude. Overall,
just a dude who loves it. That's amazing.
Yeah, he's also a musician and stuff. Check him out, Chico Star on Spotify.
Shout out to Chico Star, baby.
He's a great guy. That's Amaris Sandin over here in San Diego.
Yeah,
he's a great guy as well. But anyway, so that's something I incorporated more because he encouraged me. He's like, okay, well, I know you meditate when you do yoga, but like, let's try to do a formal meditation together. And I will always remember like that experience with him. We just went to like a grassy hill and we just sat there and like, he was like, let's just try a half an hour. And, and I just sat there and I'm like, there's no way. Like, what? Like I see you do this in the backyard all the time. I'm like, there's no way I can sit here. And like, I was there and I was like, okay, I guess I do this in yoga and just breathe and breathe. And like, I remember his like alarm went off or he was like, okay, we're done. I'm like, that was 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And like, I just like that feeling that I had of just like a similar feeling to finishing a yoga session, and like just calmness and just like, it's just great. Like everything and anyone that's on that wave of meditation can say, it is just so true, but it's also so personal. It's not even like it's a cure all to anything. Like it's not going to change your life. It's not going to make you a happier or better person, but it is such a personal thing. Like to just sit there with yourself, and to not be stimulated for once is like so hard. Cause like I'm a go like all day. Like today I worked like 8 hours. I was babysitting my little cousins. I drove over here in rush hour and I logged onto the laptop to talk to you. like, but
Grinded.
I can actually carve out time in my schedule to just sit there. Like, it's so hard for me, but so beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So
Completely agreed.
yeah, so that's something I've been trying to make more in my life now. I do a lot more formal meditation, still absolutely with the yoga, and I'll try to combine the most. Like, I'll do like maybe an hour of the stretching and yoga and exercise, and then try to do a full hour of the meditation right after if I really can, if I have the time for it. But
Yeah.
that's not every day, because like truly life is like you gotta do things every once in a while. You can't always just remain still, but like when you have the moments to carve out for yourself, they're so important, like so important. So but I understand you too, man. I see you posting all the time about doing the yoga and all that, so I love to
Yep.
see it.
Yeah, big fan, big fan. I was gonna ask, like, do you self-practice? Do you do guided, or how do you take yourself through it?
I really enjoy self. I just like to just be there and know what my body needs in the day. At this point, I have like a
Didn't know,
routine.
like, do you have a book or something? Like, what, like, how did you memorize, or did you learn all your poses?
Yes, a lot of it was from taking classes.
Mm.
When I was a student at SDSU, that we had like access to the ARC. That was our gym, and they had free classes every day. So
Cool.
I was in those rooms all the time. Like, got to know all the teachers really well, and like there was one guy in specific. His name was Danielson, and like this guy from where's he from? He's from Chile or Brazil. I can't remember,
Sick.
but South America, and like long hair, like your typical, just like who, like he was just so the thing I admired about him the most is that he was the most consistent human being I've ever met. Like, and that's what I strive to be, like, not happy, not sad, but like every single time I saw him, he was the same person, So he like the how I attributed that is like he's not pushed around by the external factors in his life. Like he is just
Mm.
always himself. And like I admired that, because like I would come to yoga after a long day of school and I'd be like, oh, or whatever's going on, and like angry or upset, but like he was always the same. Never happier, never sadder, just always himself. And like I admired that so much. So, and I think truly it was just his lifestyle. Like I taught, like he doesn't have any kids. He teaches yoga in like South America for 6 months out of the year. Like he
Wow.
just what he does, So, but anyway,
Mm.
that's where I learned, like just being around people like that, and now just doing those classes for a while, I just kind of developed my own flow. And I
Cool.
do more or less a similar flow like every morning, like, and change it around a little bit depending on what I need, but that's just like what my body likes. So
Yeah, I do the Vivia Sun or whatever, I believe is the style, and then also Hatha style as
okay,
well.
cool. Yeah,
Those
totally.
those are the
Yeah.
two that I usually practice, and then I do meditation as well. I was for a while practicing Mundidi, and then I read some Taoist and early Buddhist texts, and so I just similar to you with the yoga, I learned just the breathing patterns of the Buddhists that they would use to try and like begin to do it during the Theravada Buddhism specifically. And it's just like a repeated pattern counting from 0 to 10. And if you get lost, you go back to 0 and keep going. If you forget counting, don't even go back. Don't ever think about it. And then I just allow that. And then I usually get lost. However, recently I started involving crystals into my meditation. And as weird as it sounds, there is something about the energy and the connection and the apparent relationship between emotions and the ability that is within a specific stone or a specific subset of the rock. And so I find that to be extremely new and extremely fascinating, but I love just I'll do what you, exactly like you said, 30 minutes, an hour, and it will just be like, God damn it, I want to keep going. That was like 5 minutes. I'm like, what? And like, yeah, it's amazing.
That's great. Yeah, it's not what you said. It's not crazy at all, man. I love the rocks and crystals myself, man. I mean, that stuff can make sense. I mean, I always like when you start talking about the spiritual mobile dribble, man. Like it's like there's people who are definitely too far gone, not in a callback, but like in the sense of the spirituality, like, and not even in a bad way, but like they're just lost in it. And like if you would have told me 4 years ago that like I'd be into some of the stuff that I am now, like I'd be like, no way, you're wrong. But like, there are certain things, man, like if you're into, like with the rocks, I totally believe, like, and that stuff makes sense. Like different substances on our earth give off different vibrations, and that's why different rocks and crystals make you feel a different way. Like music, like anything, like anyone, like it just makes sense. Like I keep a rock or crystal in my pocket every day. I have a bunch of them. In the morning, I pick how I want to feel or how I'm feeling, and I grab one and I put it in my pocket.
Yep.
And that's what I carry around all day. And like I'm a fidgeter, right? So whenever I'm feeling anxious or I'm not maybe acting in the way that I want to, I'll reach in my pocket and I'll fidget with it. And I'll remember, I'm like, okay, this stone, this is how I want to feel. That's why I grabbed it today. And like, that's, so I'm a firm believer in that, man. And like, not even a way that I got to shove it down anybody's throat. I'm like, if you want to laugh at me for having a rock in my pocket, okay, that's fine. But like, this is something that I enjoy, you know, like that's something that makes me feel good. And like, I mean, I believe in it myself, you know, like this just stuff makes sense. And like, but it's definitely not for everyone, you know? And I think, like I said, like meditation and spirituality is such an independent journey. Like you can't force anyone to meditate or to do it. Like you can be like, oh, it's cool, it's good, try, but like you can't make any, like it has to be with your own doing to start that path, I think, because then truly that's when the work's gonna get done. You know, you can't just make someone do it like, oh, you're gonna be happy here, because it's like, it's not the cure all by any means, but it's a way to cope, or a way to just like accept, I think. Like, but that's great, man. That's cool, super cool to talk to like-minded individuals. And I think what's cool about our generation too is like so many people are getting into that more now. Like it's almost like meditation and spirituality is like the new fad, you know, which
facts.
You know, which I think some people look at in a bad way, because they're like, oh, you're just hopping on the wave of it all. And like, I think for anything, it can be looked in a bad or good way, but it's like, I think it's cool that people are like really thinking about this kind of stuff. Like you could like be swallowing bleach pods, or, you know, or like,
exactly. Like,
you know, like
if you can get so consumed in social media, the idea of getting consumed in discovering a new path is so refreshing.
Yeah. And who cares that everyone's doing it? You know, they should be. Like, I don't like those people who are like, well, it's such a mainstream thing to be doing now. And like, okay, but it's still so individual,
Right.
You know, it's like truly whoever is experiencing it, they're experiencing it in such a different way than you are, you know, just fascinating and so very cool.
If you don't mind me asking, what is your spirituality?
Oof, I don't know.
Cool. Yeah, that's the answer I give.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I really align with anything. I like to study everything. I think I can gather a little bit from everything, but I don't so much can classify as something. I definitely go. I'm a very emotional guy, so I go with what I feel. A lot, like I make a lot of emotional decisions, which can be to my benefit and also against me. But I don't know. It's like whatever I'm feeling, you know. Because like I said 4 years ago, I wouldn't believe or think any like half of the stuff that I do now, but like just my experiences and conclusions that I've come to on my own have led me here. And who knows where I'll be in another 4 or even tomorrow, you know, truly, but that's okay. I think that's okay.
Sure. That's really cool. What's your thought on love? Like, how do you define love?
Oof. Okay. Love. Oof. Love is interesting, right? Love is very interesting. I think love can take so many different forms. I think you feel love like I've been making the conclusion a lot, like hate is love, you know, hate is a form of love, you know, like love, like it's just like the feeling you have with like a really good friend when you're having like a good conversation, or even now, like when we're connecting, you have a really good conversation. I think that's a form of love, right? Or like when you like connect with like an emotional partner, or like have a romantic relationship, like that's like, I think that's like mainstream love, or like what a lot of people will think of, like when your mind first goes to love, you think of that person that you might love, or but and there's a difference between like your mom's love and the way that she loves you, the way that you love her. Like it's just can take so many different forms. So I don't even know, man. I don't even know how to put my finger on that, but I feel it. I know that. I think I know when I am feeling it for sure. But
I like that.
I don't know. You have a good definition, or?
I guess I personally would define love as the ability to express and accept honesty, truthfulness, admiration, and intimacy to the point in which elicits a mental and emotional and physical response. That's sort of,
sure.
If I had to define what love is, that is what it is. But like you were saying, it's so vast in the ways that it shows itself. The cloaks in which love holds itself in are so vivid and so deep and so varied that it's almost impossible to grasp a single concept that is just love.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's very true. I think that's a great definition to put it to to put something like that to words because I feel like that was around before humans, and that's a human definition, you know, so it's tough to put something like that, but I think you did a really excellent job there. But I think what's crazy too is something I've been learning too is the different forms that it takes, kind of where you're getting at. Like I think being with different partners and like different like right. So my girlfriend right now, we've been together for almost 2 years, and she loves in such a different way.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, it's great. She's fantastic. She's shout out to Claire.
No, seriously, not enough people are willing to like take it takes more work and more sacrifice to stay in a relationship than it does to float around.
Absolutely. But it can be rewarding too. But it's just crazy though, because I've learned so much from dating her, right? Because she loves in such a way than I do. Like I like physical touch. I am an emotional guy. Like that's like my love language, and we even did like a love language test, and like for her she doesn't so much like that, like, you know, she kind of loves in a different way where she likes like acts of kindness or like acts of service, or like she likes to like have a good intellectual conversation with you, then instead of just like then let's just like touch each other, you know, or like, you know, like, so I think
Sure.
I think that's a really important thing about love is just understanding the different ways that people do love. And that's in just a sense of a romantic relationship too. But like I was mentioning, like with your mom or with your best friend or with your siblings or anyone, like so much love out there truly. And like, and also in the form of hate, right? Because even people that we hate, you have to care to hate someone, right? So isn't that a form of love in a sense? Like that's what I think too. So I think even any negative feelings is also love, because it's all right in that same ballpark, but just being expressed in a different way.
Yeah, truly, truly, truly. There was one thing you said that I latched onto, that was that concept that you were talking about of you and your partner and understanding that you guys have definitively different love languages. That was actually something that me and my partner were talking about and working on. And I recently picked up this book that talks and expresses about the needs of the man versus the needs of the woman in a relationship setting for a monogamous or, you know, like a straight relationship. And it's really funny you describe that, because I'm that same way. For me, the admiration, affection, and physical aspect of the love is the most effective language for me, absorbing their love. However, for my partner, similar to yours, for women in general, the biggest ones are intimate conversation and full admiration, meaning the things such as writing a little love note when you're going to go on a vacation trip and leaving it on her pillow, or texting her or sending her a voice message when you're at work in the middle of the day and you're just thinking about her, or it's getting her flowers on an unexpected day when you don't need to, like that like affectionate, more really considerate and like intellectual mind game for a woman really increases that love language for them. But for us as guys, I am that exact same way. I'm super emotional, but I'm also super physical because of how emotional I am. And so for me, I feel like, and also because of in my psychology, because I went through so much at financial adversity and like being very poor when I was younger, I think that providing and working really hard is a very effective way to show my love to my partner. But that wasn't reflected because in the time that I wasn't spending with my partner and overworking myself, I was just furthering our love bank, because like I feel like each person, like you're saying, our mom, our dads, our friends, us right now, we each have a love bank, and we're either putting deposits in the love bank that increase the love for each other, or we're putting depreciation deposits in there, which are hurting that relationship. And it's that exact same thing of like, once you're willing to like just succumb to the sacrifice of this takes intention and a lot of work, that's when you start to really like increase your ability to feel and express and like just appreciate what love really is.
Absolutely cool. Yeah, I love that. I love the love bank analogy. I think that's very, very cool. And it's so that's great. It's just cool to come to those conclusions, because I think when you are wrapped up into different types of loves, and specifically with a partner or romantic relationship, I think it's easy for stuff to feel really heavy, right? Yes. For stuff to get, you know, we're like, why are things weird right now? Why are like, and I think that leads a lot, kind of what you're saying, people to split up and break up. And what's harder to do is to talk about it and get to the root of these things, because sometimes you get to a conclusion and like almost that's more upsetting. You're like, wait, like that's it, right? This is why it's happening. Like that's but to accept that though, and like, okay, now that we know that, like let's try not to fall into the same pitfalls, even though sometimes we will. But like let's be aware of that now, and let's like like decide like, okay, if you're still bringing me happiness and I want to be with you, let's like work around this. And like, I think that's just so freeing, like to come to some of those conclusions about in any, like about your life, about yourself, to at least like be aware of that. Like, that's something that I've noticed the most with meditation too, is like, just like, cause when you're just sitting there, you're just trying to be aware of what's around you, and that carries over to your relationships in your life. Like, you're just trying to be present to the factors of that are changing and like your behavior and your relationships and all the above. So it's just so important to just come to those conclusions. It can be tough. And like, that's what I enjoy the most about my partner, is like, we can really communicate. Like, we get down to the nitty gritty. Sometimes it's not like, sometimes it can hurt because she's great at just like telling it up front. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and like, oof, but I needed to hear that, because I've grown so much being with her, and I really, really appreciate that. And it's just cool. It's just cool to build something with that, and to be with someone that like makes me want, like, truly like be a better person, as corny as that sounds, but like, that's just how it is. You grow and like just do the thing together, like, which is very, very fun.
Sure. I have a couple questions here before we get to the end that I want to go over. The first one is, what is your thought on aliens and extraterrestrial life?
Here we go. Okay. So I'm always firm believer that friggin' more here than us. Like, it's for us a given, like I'm just watching like Neil deGrasse Tyson in the Cosmos. Like,
yeah.
When he tells you that the earth is a grain of sand in all of existence, you're like, okay, duh. Like, there's no way in any shape or form that there's not any, like, there's no other life anywhere. But with that being said, are they humans? Are they going to come blow us up? Are they going to destroy us? I don't know. But because they're like, I was reading something about Pluto the other day, where like Pluto has ice that looks like dirt or something. And for the longest time, they didn't know what it is, but that's how Pluto expresses ice. So like, just wrap your head around that concept. Like, who knows how any other planet expresses their life and what it looks like. I think it's truly unfathomable about for the human brain, because that's not us. Like, it's fun to ponder and we can try to figure that out, but like, truly, like, we won't get to the answer, because like, that's not in our makeup.
In our reach. Yeah.
I think my favorite like form of philosophy is, I can't remember the name, but like some in ancient Greek times, whatever, like with all the great philosophers out there, like Socrates, Aristotle, all them, they were this group, like, guys, you're thinking way too hard. Like, we're never going to figure this out. So let's just stop, and not even in a bad way, but like, that always stuck with me, because it's like, that's actually a really good point. Like, it's fun to ponder, right? Like, to think about all these crazy stuff, but like, we're never going to figure it out, which is cool and fun. And like, that's why we have science fiction, and like, that's why we have creative ideas and all this stuff, because we're trying to like latch to that. But I think that's just the coolest thing. But in my own personal opinion, because that's a cop out, I think definitely are aliens for sure. And I think they've been here. They've totally been here, because like
hell yeah.
Like stuff's been going on. Like, whether there's before humans, like, definitely there's stuff going on, like, that we're not aware of, like, more than meets the eye. But I don't know. I'm excited. I think I've always said, in like our lifetimes, like, stuff will, like, we're gonna figure some things out. Like, things are going to change drastically. And I think a lot of these answers that we're wondering are going to be revealed within, I think, hopefully our generation. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I got my seatbelt on, just waiting to hear.
You're just locked in, man. We're all just on this big rocket, just sort of floating, flying through this space, waiting for the next asteroid to crash into us.
Yes. So exactly. Right. And that's just cool, but it is fun to think about. Right. But it can get sometimes when you do, like, because you can talk to people who like really think about that shit, and they're like, it's like, whoa, like,
they start to build their life around it,
and I think that's cool, but it can be dangerous, because I think stuff like similar to like religion or something can just take you away from your existence now, which I'm not a fan of. Like, it's fun to ponder these things, it's fun to have different beliefs, and I don't knock on anybody's beliefs at all, but like, in my case, I'm here on this earth with what I see and what I observe. So like, that's what I'm going to do, so
it's almost as if presentness is the most guiding principle in your life, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Totally. Very, very accurate there.
So what is one of my last questions here? What is the meaning of life? In your opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Meaning of life. I would wonder.
And this will change. Next time we talk, I guarantee this answer would change if I asked it again. But right
What?
now in this moment.
In this moment, okay. In this moment, I think the meaning of life is kind of similar to what you're saying as far as being present and being aware and just like soaking this thing up, right? Because we were talking about earlier about how like the relationships are what are the most important, at least to me. You know, and the people that you're sharing, that you're on the same timeline with, that's so important, I think, first and foremost. So I think one of the meanings there is to connect with everyone that's around you, like anyone, you know, just make the time to do that. And I think truly too is just like to not take yourself so seriously and to like do what makes you happy, you know, because like the world can change in just a snap, like from COVID to anything, like to when the aliens do finally come blow us up, like, you know, like it's gonna change. Like, so it's like, don't do the thinking late, like, oh, I'll be happy now or I'll be happy then, rather, you know, when I do that, do this. It's like, I think right now, make the actions to do you, and like, and that changes, you know, what's going to give me happiness, and not even in such an ultimate, like, oh, I need to be a doctor or I need to make it big in music or something, but like, wake up in the morning and do what's going to make you feel good moment to moment, and that's going to change. So at least for me, I think that's the meaning, you know, because it's like my girlfriend always uses my girlfriend always says, she's like, you know, we were put on this planet just to like eat vegetables and like fuck each other and be naked, you know, and just walk around and like, that's true though. Like anything more than that is like not like what we've self-created.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. That's our basic biology. Me and Lily talk about that all the time. All the time. Yes. At the end of the day, we are literally a mammal. We are one of the mammals.
Yeah, right. So I think that's it. But meaning though can be so personal. So assign your own meaning, but like don't let that be catastrophic to yourself. And don't put so much pressure to yourself, because at least what I've learned in only like my short life now is that like that shit can change, you know, because before I had this path of doing sports or path of, you know, staying around in school, and then like music was like just changed for me now, and like, and there's so much more to my life now than music. Like I've been studying sustainability. I graduated in the spring from SDSU or with that, and like that's a whole nother realm I'd like to dive into too. Like I just want to, you know, do things that I'm passionate about. I think for me that's my meaning. So
that's amazing. Thank you, Zach. Wow. One last question that I always ask every guest. If you had one piece of wisdom that you had to leave for a listener, what is that piece of wisdom?
Can you hear me? It was just breaking up for a second.
Yep. You're good. I can hear you.
My one last piece of advice would be, and I read this on a bumper sticker all the time because it's a car that's parked on the street, and it's don't believe everything you think. I think that's my biggest piece of advice, because if you're anything like me, I overthink to be analytical, and that pays off sometimes because I can be you know, my detriment, because I'll miss out on certain things because I'm so in my head sometimes, which is really just bad. It's something I've been really trying to work with, especially lately, you know? So I think that's it right there. Just don't believe everything you think, and that your first impression about things are usually wrong, right? The first instinct that you get is usually not, I mean, partially right, maybe, but there's always more than meets the eye. Like once you scrape back the first layer, like, so I think that's it.
That's beautiful. Thank you, man. I want to give you a chance now. Plug yourself, any social medias, any outlets. Where can people find you?
Yes, please. So check me out. Instagram first is at Zach Brosi Music. That's ZACHBROSI in music. Please check out my new single. We were talking about it today. Too Far Gone. It's on Spotify. It's all over the place.
Oh, did you play that single during the live set thing at the beginning?
Yes, I did. And please check it out. We'll put that video here. So I did, recorded it. Did a nice live version of it. So I'm really excited to share that. If you're around the San Diego area, if not all, I have some gigs coming up. So follow me on Instagram for that. I'm playing at a bar near the beach on Saturday. So that'll be fun. Saturday night I have a gig. But yeah, just please check it out. And please reach out. Like I was saying, if you're a musician and you want to make music, it doesn't matter where you're at. Like we're in this age where we can send things anywhere. So please just like hit me up. I'd like message me on Instagram and like, let's make some music together. I'd love that.
Hell yeah. And there you have it, folks. This has been another edition of A Humanistic Perspective. Thank you to Zach so much for being on, man. This has been such a great and totally awesome experience to, one, intimately get to understand another part of your life and aspects that I didn't even understand, but also two, to like break down the walls and really understand the creativity and the philosophy and character that's driving your music and where you're going in life. So thank you for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chad. It's been
Yeah.
really
All right. Thank you, folks. Thank you for listening. Peace.